Morning, guys. It's Thursday. Thought we'd do some baking. And if you caught yesterday's video, which was probably this morning's video because I didn't get it out till today, but our dinner video, I had mentioned that we were going to do a cheesecake. We were going to do a caramel cheesecake. A caramel cheesecake with a golden Oreo crust. And we're going to put some peanuts on it, or maybe some walnuts. I haven't quite decided yet. On the top, cover it with caramel so it'll have a nice golden Oreo crust, a layer of caramel, the cheesecake itself, the filling, and then which will have a nice caramel taste to it, I think. And then drizzle with caramel on top and some nuts of some sort. So I think it's going to be awesome. If this is your first video, welcome. I hope you get something out of this video. Check out some of my other videos. We're all about food and being good neighbors and sharing food and, talking, communicating with each other. If you're returning, thank you. If you're a new subscriber, awesome. I'm so glad you decided to come to the neighborhood and hang out with us for a while. Be a part of the crowd, so to speak. We're the cool kids. That being said, don't forget to like, subscribe, share. I get this out in the algorithm, gets us moving, and excuse me, and helps grow our community. So that being said, I will give you all your measurements and cups, tablespoons, teaspoons, along with grams. That way everybody can play along. And yeah, I think that's it. So let's get down here to the counter where we're going to start by making our caramel sauce. We gotta let it cool down completely, and we got a lot to do with it. And then after we do the caramel sauce, though, then we will work on the crust, the filling, put it all together, throw it in the oven. All right, hold on for me 1 second. All right, we're down here at the counter. So first thing we need a heavy-bottomed, medium-sized sauce pot. And you want preferably something that's heavy-bottomed as your sauce pot goes, because we're about to make caramel. And caramel is nothing more than sugar and water. That's what we're actually going to cook. I mean, it gets butter and cream and salt, but our base is just sugar and water, but we want it to heat evenly. And in order to do that, you don't want a thin layered pot, so you want a heavy bottom pot. All right, so right here I've got 2 cups, 400 grams of sugar. We're going to put that in there. And then I've got a half a cup, 125 milliliters of just room temperature tap water, and we're going to put that in there. We're going to turn our heat on to about a medium low, and we're just going to let this sit. Literally, we're not going to stir it, we're not going to whisk it, we're not going to anything it. We're just going to let this sit here. And what this is going to do is it's going to slowly start to turn to caramel. What you do want to do, though, is once it starts to turn color, is you're going to take your pan and just kind of swirl it around. What that does is evenly disperses the heat, just in case. Caramel burns real easy. Well, it burns quickly. And so you want to watch your temperature, nothing more than a simmer. When it starts to darken, we're going to turn our pan a little bit. Whatever we do, we don't want to stir it. What stirring does is it makes your caramel stiff. And we don't want that, and it gets air bubbles in it, and it makes it look ugly. But anyhow, so we're gonna let this sit here until it turns a distinct color, and when I come back, we'll add some more ingredients. All right, be right back. Okay, so our caramel has got a nice golden color to it. You can't really see it or not, and it does take some time to make caramel. I suppose you could buy a store-bought. I don't know why you would want to, but I suppose you could. But to this, I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of 1 gram of salt, and I'm using a kosher salt. And I'm going to add 75 grams, 1/3 a stick of butter, and I've got it at fairly room temperature. And we're just going to stir that in until it's smooth, but we want to make sure we're off the heat when we do it. And it's going to crackle and bubble a little bit, but as long as you have it off the heat, you'll be good. Okay, our butter's in there, and we are smooth. So our last ingredient before we do something really cool is some heavy cream. And I've got 3/4 cup, 280 milliliters worth of heavy cream right here, and I'm just going to pour this in, and we're going to do it slow. And you want your heavy cream to be at room temperature or it will curdle. Yeah, you'll have heavy whipping cottage cheese in your dish. And we want to get this stirred until completely smooth. And then we are going to take some of it and add it to some cornstarch. Alright, and there is our caramel right there. All nice and good to go. So now what we need to do, and yes, I'm using a whisk, but you don't want to sit there and whip. Yeah, you just want to stir. So now I'm going to take about 3/4 cup of our caramel here while it's hot, like such. Get a little more in there because why not? That in there. And what this is, what we're making here is I've got 7 tablespoons, 60 grams of cornstarch in here, and we're going to mix this in with that 3/4 cup of caramel. And this is what we're doing is we're creating the base that's going to go on top of our crust, and we put the cornstarch in there to stiffen it up so that way it doesn't seep into our crust, because we want it to be its own layer. So we'll go ahead and get this stirred up real quick. Alright, so we got our cornstarch and caramel mixed up right there, and we're just going to set that aside for a few minutes. And the next thing we're going to do is set our oven for 350 degrees to start. That's what we're going to pre-bake our crust in. And in this bowl I have what was 26 golden Oreos, the white Oreos, the vanilla Oreos, however you want to call them, these right here. And I just ran them through my food processor till they were mostly a fine crumb. I mean, there's some chunks in there still, and that's okay. And to this, I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of butter, 114 grams worth of butter into here. And then we're going to grab a glove, and I'm going to mix this by hand. Now you can do this all in your food processor. I just, for whatever reason, struggle with getting it even, getting the butter evenly done in a food processor. It seems to backfire on me every time, and the crust turns out not quite right. And by hand, you can feel it. You know, and you don't necessarily have to wear a glove. I just wear a glove because I don't want to. I got my sink covered at the moment with the oven topper, so that way I can put my camera on it. So I have no access to my sink to wash my hands. So I use a glove, which is fine. That's the way it should be. And especially if you're making this for other people, even though we're putting it in the oven. So now we need to get our springform pan out, and we're going to put our crust in there just like such, and then I can grab another glove because I should have never taken that one off, and we're just going to smash this down in there as soon as I get this stuff moved. So what we'll do is we're going to smash this flat. Now you can, this recipe that I looked at for the filling, it makes enough for an 8-inch or a 9-inch cheesecake, which I thought was kind of cool and kind of weird all at the same time, because I mean that's a pretty solid difference. But I would imagine with this crust recipe, which this is my crust recipe, you would bring the crust up the sides of the pan, where with a 9-inch pan it just lays flat. So if you're using an 8-inch pan, take your crust up the sides about 1 inch. If you're using a 9-inch pan, run with it the way it is. All right, so what we're gonna do is once that oven gets up to temperature, we will put this in the oven for 10 to 12 minutes until it gets a nice golden brown on it. And then we are going to start making some filling. All right, be right back. Okay, so we're back. And we've got our crust out of the oven. I'll show it to you real quick. Our crust. 10 minutes, 350 degrees. Right there we are. Now I just got it sitting over here on a rack cooling because we want it to be as close to room temperature as possible, which won't take long. And then I turn my oven down from 350 to 325. That way we can bake our cheesecake at 325. So that's what you want it at. All right, so in our mixer, first thing we need to put in here is some cream cheese. And you want everything to be at room temperature. So we've got sour cream, we've got eggs, cream cheese, whipped heavy whipping cream. All of that should be at room temperature. Yeah, they're as close to as possible at any rate. So that's what helps get everything smooth. Yeah, that's what we want. Now remember with cheesecakes, especially this particular cheesecake is done up like a New York style cheesecake, so it's dense, it's thick. So we've got 24 ounces, softened things of cream cheese. And what we're going to do is we're going to whip those up in just 1 second. Okay, so sorry about that. I had a little bit of the plate stuck to the cream cheese, which is crazy. I didn't even think about that. But anyhow, we're going to take these, the 24 ounces, 3 8-ounce blocks of cream cheese at room temperature, and we're gonna cream this good for a couple minutes. You know, we want to make sure that there's no lumps in there. Okay, we are there. We've got our cheese creamed, looking good. And if your cream cheese is at room temperature, it doesn't take long to cream at all. So we'll go ahead and get that off the paddle there, like such. And the next thing we're going to add to our beloved cream cheese is going to be some sugar. I've got some dark brown sugar here. I've got 210 grams worth. We're going to put that in there along with 1 tablespoon of vanilla, which is 15 grams. We're going to put that in there, and then we're going to mix this until it's smooth and creamy. Remember, you don't want to go too fast with your mixer because we want it to stay dense. We don't want to put a lot of air into this. All right, we got our brown sugar mixed in there. We're going to give this a good quick scrape. Make sure we got everything off the sides there that needs to be, and it's really incorporated. Remember, mixers, whether it's a hand mixer, a stand mixer, or otherwise mixer, they have dead spots they don't get to. I don't know if you can see down in there real well, but it didn't get it all completely mixed in. That's all right. There's still some blank, not brown sugared parts. We'll just get them put together here right quick because that's what we do. And we can make sure we don't have any lumps. And so far we're looking good. Now if you've got small lumps, that's okay. I'm talking like, you know, pea size, half a pea size. That's fine. Cream cheese has a hard time melting, so to speak. So yeah, if you've got big chunks in there, chances are you're gonna have a big chunk of cream cheese when you're finished with your cheesecake. You don't want that. All right, so we've got that in there. Now, next thing we need to add is 3 tablespoons of flour at 26 grams. We're going to combine that in, and as that's combining, well, once we get it stirred in, which won't take but a second, because we're literally just combining it. It's not like we have to do a whole lot to it. Like now, I got 4 large eggs right here, and I'm just going to put these in one at a time until they disappear. All right, we got our eggs in there and incorporated. Once again, we're going to give this a good stir. Yeah, make sure everything's where it needs to be, right? It never hurts to scrape. I don't know why I said stir. We want to scrape. We're already stirring. That's what the mixer does, right? So we got that in there. We're looking like we're in pretty good shape. Yep. Scrape off the spatula real quick, and then we just got 2 ingredients left to put in here, and we'll be ready to assemble our cake. It does not take long to make this. The cheesecake itself is pretty just a basic cheesecake. The only thing that varies in it is the brown sugar compared to just like a regular old cheesecake. So we'll go ahead and get 1 cup, 245 grams of sour cream. Get that. Sorry if I'm off camera, but I had to get the paper off the sour, or the plastic off the sour cream. When you leave your stuff out to do room temperature, you should always cover it. That way, if not, it'll turn yellow. I don't know why that is. I'm sure it has something to do with the oxygen and dairy, but cream cheese does it, sour cream does it, everything will. Basically, if it's a cheese product, it'll, just like when you buy blocks of cheese, if you let it sit out too long, they turn a different color on the outside. And I'm sure it has everything to do with the oxygen in it. So we got our 1 cup, 245 grams of sour cream in there, and then I've got a 1/4 cup, 60 milliliters of heavy whipping cream I'm gonna put in there. And like I said, everything's at room temperature. I actually got this stuff out before I went to bed last night. I mean, which was like around midnight, and then it's 8 o'clock now, so it's been sitting out for a while. And if you're not okay with that, I'd at least let it sit out for about 45 minutes to an hour. It doesn't bother me to do that, as I've been doing it for years. It's never once affected anybody. And we're gonna bake it, so we're gonna get it up to a good temperature. All right, so now we're just gonna mix these two together until it's smooth, until the mix is smooth, right? But like I said, not on high. We don't want to take it, if you're using a stand mixer, no higher than 2 is what I do, because we're not looking to get air in there. We're just looking to get it smoothed out. Okay, so while that was mixing, I went ahead and grabbed our springform pan with our cookie base in it, and I got my foil on there. Now when you do foil, you can use 2 12-inch pieces of foil, but I get the big wide 16-inch ones. That way the bottom is solid, because if not, you run the risk of getting water in there, and that's exactly what you don't want. So I got that taken care of. Now we can go ahead and move. We'll go ahead and move our mixer out of the way, and what we're going to do next is, let me get you down here where you can see. Sorry, almost knocked you down there. That there is, we're going to take the caramel that we added the cornstarch to, right here. We're going to put it in the base, just like such, and smooth it out even. That's got a nice good stiffness to it too. It's soft but not horrible. I like it. That in there. Grab our spatula here right quick so we can get the rest of this goodness out of here. Just like such, and we'll just spread this out so it's even over top of the crust. Okay. We got our caramel in there and smoothed out even. So now all we got to do is take our batter, pour it in there, get the paddle taken care of real quick. I'm running out of places to put stuff. There's that. And we'll grab our spatula again. Now we want to pour this in kind of slow, because that caramel's soft, so it'll move. But if we pour it in slow and even, it'll help not get the caramel all, uneven is what we're looking for. And in order to do that, we gotta pour our batter in fairly even. We'll get our batter in there. All right, so we are good there. We got our filling in on top of our caramel sauce. Life is good and golden. But I don't know if you can see it or not, but like right there is what I was talking about with a little chunk of cream cheese. Let's see if I can get it out of there. I can't get it out of there, but there's just a little chunk there. There's like another one there. And you know what? That's okay. It's okay. So let's tap this on the counter real quick. That way if there's any air bubbles in them, we get them drawn to the top, which I don't know if you can see it or not. Maybe right there was an air bubble. There was an air bubble. Let's take our finger and smooth that over. But that just shows me there was a little bit of air in there. Remember, New York style, dense. So I've got a roasting pan right here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this in the roasting pan. And then we are going to open up the oven, pull out our, nice. I just bought a new thermometer for the oven and it's actually reading proper. Put our pan in there and you're like, Brian, you didn't add any water for the water bath. And you're right, I have not added it yet. I'm going to add it now. So here's where some other things that differ that I do. So I am going to pour this water in here, and it is hot water, and I'm going to fill it up to about 1 inch. You don't really want to go much past the halfway mark on your cheesecake itself, but you want enough in there that it's not going to evaporate. So about a solid inch. I've used this pan often enough just for cheesecakes that it actually has a ring. And then once we got that in there, because you don't want to, I mean, you could try to pick that up, but from the counter and put it down in there, I used to, but it's kind of dangerous, especially if you're using hot water. But you'll find some people that don't use hot tap water. They use water from a kettle. And if that's what you'd like to do, that's fine. I don't. I just get straight hot tap water. I pour it in there. It takes about 2 quarts. Fill it up to about 1 inch or the halfway mark of your pan. And then shut the door. So what do we do now? Well, now we're going to bake this for 60 minutes at 325 degrees, right? Let me double check, make sure. Water bath, turn on, okay, yep. We are going to let this bake for 60 minutes. When that 60 minutes is up, I'm going to shut the oven off, but I'm not going to open up this door. I am going to let it sit with the door shut and the oven off for 20 minutes. And then when that 20 minutes is up, I will take it out so it can cool to room temperature. So when I come back, we'll be taking it out of the oven. We'll take a look at it, see what we need to look for when it comes to is it done. And yeah, talk about what we gotta do next. All right, I'll see you here in just 1 second. Okay, so we got her out of the oven. I took her out of the water bath. Went ahead and got it out of the foil. And we just got it sitting there. Now I'm gonna bring you in so that way we can kind of see what we're looking for here. Hopefully I can get this proper, because it wasn't really specific on what to look for, but that's all right. I have a general idea. So the first thing we want to do, which, see how it's just jiggly, it's just wiggling a little bit, that's good. It means it's set, because it's not done cooking. It's going to sit here and bake until it gets to room temperature. But what we do want to do while it's still warm is take a offset spatula and hit it off this top edge here. Maybe not necessarily all the way down, because like I said, it's still jiggly, so it's got time to cool, but we want to make sure that it's not hitting the sides there at the top, because a lot of times as a cheesecake cools, it shrinks. As it shrinks, if it sticks to the side, you'll end up with cracks. And we don't want cracks. As you can see, we don't have any cracks, although I do have a bubble spot there. But that's all right, because we're going to cover this with caramel and nobody will ever know the difference. So, let this cool to room temperature, about an hour. Then we're going to stick it in the fridge. How long do we stick it in the fridge for? Well, I mean, in a way, that's completely up to you. But I'm going to tell you what the common rule of thumb is at least 6 hours. Best practice is overnight. Well, what's overnight? 8 to 9 hours. Yeah, most people sleep 8 hours, so I'm gonna say 9 hours because you got it in the fridge. Then you need some time to wake up before you start doing whatever it is you need to do to the cheesecake. So for an hour here, and then 6 to 9 hours in the fridge. And when I come back, we will put the caramel topping on there, and I'll figure out what I want to put with the caramel topping, whether it be walnuts, peanuts, pecans, who knows, pistachios, hard to say, but we're gonna try it at any rate. All right, I'll be back in just 1 second. All right, so cheesecake has been room temped down out into the fridge, where it's sat for a few hours, and now all we have to do is top it and we can eat it. So for the sake of time, I went ahead and made my whipped topping already. But it's really easy. I'll leave you the ingredients list down below. It's literally just sugar, heavy cream, cream of tartar, and vanilla. You mix it all together. I do it all at once, and it makes whipped topping. I mix it to stiff peaks. So, and then with the cream of tartar, and it gives you something that's stabilized. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some whipped topping just around the edges here. Now, it said in the recipe, if you were going to use whipped topping, to do it right before serving, because the caramel is soft and it'll cause the whipped topping to slide, which leads me to believe that they're putting their whipped topping on after they put the caramel on. Well, I want to do the exact opposite. For us, I'm going to put the whipped topping on, and then we'll put the caramel in the center, right? So we got that on there, and then this is the caramel we made earlier. And see how it's still soft, but it's got a nice chew to it. You know, it's kind of dense. I don't think that's so dense that it's going to affect the whip. I don't know if it's going to push the whipped topping off or not. I'm not going to put quite that much on there, but we'll see. I mean, it may, but I want us to have a finished product all the same. And I have a recipe for caramel. I don't remember what I was making it with, but if I happen to find it, I'll link the video to it. But it's similar to this, and I know, like this, as long as you put it in a container with a lid, it will stay soft, but it'll last a couple 3 or 4 days. So you could be in good shape there. So I'm gonna save the rest of that for who knows what. But I'll save it all the same. And then put us a good sized flower there on the top, just like such. And there, ladies and gentlemen, is a caramel cheesecake. I know it looks good. It smelled fantastic when we were getting it out of the oven and all, but that doesn't mean anything. It could taste like crap. So let me go get some utensils and a plate, and when I come back, we'll cut a piece and try it. All right, hold on for me 1 second. Okay, so got my handy dandy paper plate, got my knife, which I'm running under hot water. What that does is it makes the cheesecake easy to cut. Remember that crust, it's got butter in it, it's been sitting in the fridge, and it's nice and ice cold. Yeah, so it's solid, right? And we need something to help cut through it with. So we'll warm the knife up, which should give us the ability to just slice right through that bad boy. Maybe. Ugh. Or at least close to it. And I'm gonna In this case, I'm going to do warm my knife up between every cut, because we also have that caramel in there that, even though it's maybe not solid, it's not unsolid, so to speak. Make sure we got all the way through on both sides. Go. Excellent. Yeah, I learned the hard way. I took a cheesecake to a work one day, and the bottom was still frozen. Well, frozen was chilled, and when we went to serve it, the bottom stayed behind, which I thought was kind of hysterical. But there we are. I think that looks absolutely gorgeous myself. Let me get this little bit of topping off the side of the plate, and I'll show you the cut on the inside too. Yeah, that whipped topping, or the caramel, is soft as it is. It's chilled enough, it's not going anywhere. None of that's going anywhere. But that is where we're at with that. So let's, oops, sorry. Go ahead and get pulled back here, and we'll taste it, see how it tastes, right? Because that's the whole point of it, is to, yeah, make new things so we can see how they taste. All right. Get us off an end piece here. Wow, that crust cut nice. Oh. That is really good. Attention, caramel lovers. Here you are. Oh, that is amazing. One more bite. It's so smooth and creamy. And the brown sugar in the cheesecake just makes all that caramel pop. But it's not so harsh that you're like, whoa. And the vanilla, the golden cookies, golden Oreo cookies, perfect crust. That was my one concern with this. I've made enough cheesecakes to know if a recipe is going to work on the filling side. And I have a variety of crusts between the Oreos, the graham crackers, lemon cookies, snickerdoodles, all that stuff, that I pretty much know what's going to work and what's not going to work. And I had in my head that this should be the crust for it. Everybody else is like a graham cracker crust or a chocolate Oreo crust. And I thought, no, I really want that caramel to stand out, but I want that hint of vanilla. You notice we didn't put any vanilla in the caramel, just in the cheesecake, and the crust already has vanilla in it because of the golden Oreos. So give this one a try. You won't be disappointed. It wasn't very hard to make at all. Yeah, we had it put together maybe half hour, 20-25 minutes, half hour at most, putting it together, get it in the oven, let it bake for an hour, and then let it sit around, right? Put it in the fridge, let it sit even longer, overnight, whatever, day later. I've even kept cheesecakes in the fridge 2-3 days, as long as you don't, I just don't decorate them. I leave them in the spring form, put my plastic wrap over the top of it, and then it's good in my fridge for a couple days before I even decorate it. And then I can serve it then. So it's not like you have to rush to get this all done in one day. We started this at 10 o'clock this morning. I mean, granted, it's 9 o'clock at night now, but that's just because the day got away from me. And voila, perfect late night snack. But anyhow, so next week, I have no idea. As always, no clue. But we will be doing something, I guarantee it. If you do try this, let me know. Leave me a comment down below. Find us on Facebook, however you like to do it. Mr. Smith's Kitchen is what's on Facebook, and you can look up the group. We have a business page, and then, well, of course, got my page. You can find us Messenger also. But either way, let me know if you try this. Till next week, though, I love you. I love you very much. And I mean that with all my heart. Tell somebody else you love them, and that you love them very much. They may really need to hear it that day, and it's going to make you feel good to tell them and let them know. And if you make them one of these caramel cheesecakes, man, they're going to just be grinning ear to ear. It's going to make their day complete, and you're going to have lots of time for conversation over a piece of cheesecake. So until next week, I'll see you then. I love you. Bye.